Hello everyone, good day to all of you, and I hope you're all doing well. I wanted to give a review today talking about the Rearden Cyka flash hider. This is a Plan B or Rearden Atlas compatible muzzle device for AKs. Of course, as you can see, the name of it is a little silly. It is actually, as it sounds, Charlie Yankee Kilo Alpha, just like the Russian swear word. A little silly, but despite the silly name, this has actually been working really well. I quite like it. There are a few things that I don't like. It's not perfect, but it does everything, all the important stuff that I care about. It does it really well. So I wanted to start first on actually how this mounts, because it's a little bit different from your traditional type of AK muzzle device that is retained by the pin up here. This is actually a face mount instead. So what that means, of course, is your traditional type of AK, like I said, see there's that muzzle device retaining pin right there. Not in use. This actually mounts off of the face. And that's just to ensure concentricity, which is a lot less, especially on AKs, it's a lot less likely for it to be concentric if you're relying on this retaining pin. And furthermore, this retaining pin usually has a lot of slop to it, I've noticed, and wobbles a lot with any muzzle device, at least, like I said, from my experience that I've tried to put on it. Always a lot of play in there. So this helps a lot. Of course, like I said, this ensures concentricity, at least in most cases, unless you have a particularly sloppily made AK. And second of all, this actually can, I won't say absolutely will, but it can improve your precision. I did a video, I think I'll probably end up having it out last week as of when you're watching this video, just talking about a lot of the testing I've been doing with muzzle devices over the years, and yeah, this does help. So if you have a bad AK already that doesn't shoot well, it's not going to make it suddenly shoot like a tack driver, but this just kind of eliminates a lot of that slop, a lot of that play, like I was saying. But don't want to spend too much time on that because I already did devote an entire video just talking about the precision aspect. Point is, this does seem to improve it a little bit, and in any case, it definitely will not make it worse. So great there. I didn't notice any zero shift as well compared to the previous muzzle device I had on here, which was a ARM1, and I was also testing a bunch with a just a regular Bulgarian, one of those just single port classical or classic types of AK brakes. And yeah, no zero shift. I usually don't see any zero shift between muzzle devices, just between different suppressors and unsuppressed. Speaking of that, that is a very good point for me to transition to the very important how well it is actually as a suppressor adapter. So I've tested this with three, well, one of them is a linear comp, but two actual suppressors. The first of which is my relatively new Cat ODB right here. This is the one I've been primarily using it with. You can see this mounts really, really well. One thing I want to point out when I do get this on here, so to understand a bit of the chronology, Rearden, before making this, they actually made another muzzle device for AKs called the Blayat. Yet again, kind of a silly name there. Just a single port brake made to pretty closely resemble the just traditional AK-74 brake. But one thing, at least from the photos I've seen of it, I never really liked it because if you look at the shoulder right here compared to the photos that I'm putting up, it had a very much, a much less angle, a lot more gradual, and it didn't look particularly good. Now, on this, you still have that kind of really big part here as it needs to be to go over those AK-74 24mm threads, but it's just a much steeper angle. It makes the suppressor look a lot more continuous. It doesn't make much of a difference as far as actual reliability is concerned or anything, but that. And also, this is an actual flash hider. It's not a brake, so I always hate timing brakes. If I ever go with a brake, it's always just a radial one that doesn't need to be timed just because it's annoying. I can do it, I don't like doing it. So it works well with this Cat ODB. One thing I want to point out though is my tried and true Cat WB, which I really like a lot. I do want to use this suppressor on this. However, one issue I've ran into is, so I have a Wolfpack low profile adapter. It actually won't fit on here. It almost comes down, you can see, and it will kind of grab onto that first thread. But beyond that, it starts to hit the blast baffle inside of this suppressor. I did try measuring this. The approximate intrusion you're going to get with this flash hider is about 1.52 inches, and I measured that from just barely in front of the threads to the end of the device itself, of course. So if you look at Wolfpack's website, that is supposed to fit, but what I think is happening is, compared to Wolfpack's actual flash hiders that are kind of more open, it ends up kind of hugging that blast baffle. Compared to this, it just hits into it, because if you look, and I'm unloaded, of course, you can see how much more material is there. And it's not a huge amount still, but it's a lot more compared to that Wolfpack, like I said. So it is bumping up on that, so do keep that in mind if you either own that same suppressor or if you're worried about it with a low profile adapter, it will probably end up hitting it. And then last, like I said, I did test this with linear comp, specifically the Rearden Icarus, and works perfectly as well. And also on the length, I did measure this at 2.715 inches overall length. Of course, it's not going to be that long as far as added length, because keep in mind, this whole part here goes over your threads, but it is pretty lengthy. Another thing, this is of course a 4-prong flash hider, as you've already seen, and these are extremely harmonic. They do actually advertise this as being a very audible, pleasant pinging noise, and it's a really subjective thing. I hate the pinging personally, and it's very noticeable on this. It's almost like you're in some sort of Zen meditation class. Now, even when you have a linear comp or a suppressor mounted onto here, you will still hear that pinging, so don't expect it to go away anytime soon. After doing this video, for both the ability to mount the Cat WB on here, as well as the fact that I really hate this pinging noise, I'm going to be doing a professional gunsmithing job of taking a Dremel to this and chopping it down, which will compromise the flash performance a fair bit, but I'll just be shooting this suppressed anyway, so I don't really care. Speaking of the flash performance, this actually works really well. Some flash hiders I've tried in the past, which claim to be flash hiders, really don't do that well, but this is a really, it's a true, very good flash hider. So I'll put up the footage that I tested, just 10 rounds of Tula ammo. Now, unfortunately, yeah, it is Tula. This is a 5.45, so I gotta take what I can get at this point. So that was taken just about 20 minutes after sunset, still nice and dark, and really captures all of that muzzle flash. And you can see how well it really did. Compared to this next bit of footage that I'll put up, that is just using the single port, just the traditional AK-74 break there, and you can see how much more is coming out. Do note just that little bit of sparking that you might be seeing there on the footage on either muzzle device. That's just from the ammo because it's a bimetal, just Tula. So that's what's going on there. Now, I didn't record the installation. It's pretty straightforward, but I did want to touch on a few things. First off, since this mounts on the face, one thing, if you've been shooting your AK a lot and you have a traditional, just a retaining pin, and you have specifically these 24mm threads, one thing you'll probably notice is you'll have quite a bit of carbon buildup on the end of the barrel, and that's because there is a little bit of a gap usually on most AK muzzle devices between the kind of where the muzzle device starts and where, or I should say in between the end of the barrel. So I had to scrape a lot off, and if you run into issues with that, I would just recommend using, for example, some Kroil or some other penetrating type of oil to really dig into it, and just let it soak for a couple hours, go back to scraping it a little, soak it again. I had to do, I think, 2 coats of Kroil before I was able to really get it all off. But yeah, just make sure you got that face totally clean just to ensure concentricity. This installs with a 25mm crowfoot, not the traditional Rearden crowfoot. I'm forgetting the exact one right now, but I'll put it up on the screen. And of course, it has to use that larger size simply because it has to come over these giant 24mm threads of the AK. So keep that in mind. If you're used to most other Rearden's muzzle devices, yeah, you'll need to pick up another crowfoot. Also, as of recording this video, I'm not sure if Rearden is going to release any other color options in the future. I assume they probably will, but just as of recording this, they just have the black nitride version, which is what this is, and matches really well with the rest of the rifle. It's held up well, just regular, good black nitride, not really anything too exciting there. And it's held up, has a good seal with everything that I've tested on it. I would definitely recommend this muzzle device, especially if you're in the market for a suppressor adapter for AKs. I was a little bit leery about suppressing any of my AKs initially, just because I was thinking of a bunch of different potential issues, and kind of went down a weird train of thought with this one, which I revisited, and of course, see, I did end up suppressing it because my initial worry was with dirty ammo, which is really not too big of an issue. I can clean the suppressor even if it becomes dirty, so it should be fine. Personally, I don't like using flash hiders as suppressor adapters. I usually either like going with just a full minimalist or a muzzle brake, but you know, I didn't like the Bliat with the kind of the outward profile of it. It always looked a little weird to me. The only thing I don't like as far as this one, especially because it's an open 4-prong, is it's really going to be concentrating all of that blast in between the open areas into your blast baffles. So if you use a lot of flash hiders, especially the open prong type, then you can expect to see more wear on the blast baffle, which is another reason why I'm going to be cutting this down. But if it fits your use case, I'm sure this is perfect for some people out there. It does look nice for sure as well. So really all of the complaints I have with it are just particular to my own use case, and I can really fix them with a Dremel. So that is what I'm going to be doing after this video. Other than that, the Cyka itself works great. So thank you all for watching, and I hope that this was informative. If you have anything else that you want to add with your own experiences with this, or anything else in the comments below, by all means, feel free to do that. Any questions, let me know as well. I'll do my best to get back to you. And other than that, thank you for watching, especially if you made it through the whole video. Greatly appreciate it, and hope to see you all in the next one. Take care. See you then.